In France, the government deployed 45,000 police officers overnight during continued rioting over the killing of a teenager at the hands of police. Unrest erupted nationwide on Tuesday after a 17-year-old boy of North African descent was shot dead by police during a traffic stop. Protests have continued every night since then. Buildings and vehicles have been torched and stores looted. France's interior minister says 270 people were arrested overnight. That brings the total to more than 1,100 since the unrest began. A funeral for the teen is taking place today. For more on this story, let's go now to Paris, where we find Ross Cullen for us. So, Ross, thank you for joining us. The funeral has already begun now, so what can we expect today?
Yeah, good morning, Hilary. The funeral taking place in Nanterre in the western Paris suburb where the teenager Nahel M was shot dead by police on Tuesday. We know that there are no cameras allowed at parts of the funeral during the ceremony, during the service, but we can expect a reaction later from the people in Nanterre. They will be watching to see if it is a de-escalation in terms of the violence, or if they feel that they do want to continue with the rioting, the looting, the arson, to make the points that they are upset that there is still these divisions in French society, that people want to show that anger on the streets. Because of that anger in the streets, we've actually had in the last couple of minutes some breaking news that Emmanuel Macron, the French president, will be postponing his visit to Germany. He was due to make a state visit tomorrow, the 2nd of July, through to and including the 4th of July, the first such state visit by a French president in 20 years. But in fact, he has had to postpone it given the domestic situation. In March, you might remember, Hilary, that King Charles had to postpone his visit here to France because of the riots and the violence linked to the pension reform protests. And so we are seeing another major visit having to be postponed because of the impacts of violence in France.
Ed Ross, when we're thinking about this 17-year-old's death here, of course, it has revived tensions about racism, police profiling as well. So talk to us a little bit more about what happened last night.
Yeah, last night was huge in terms of the number of arrests, but actually apparently a reduced intensity. According to the Interior Minister, Gérald Darmanin, we did have 1,300 people being arrested on Friday night in the early hours of Saturday morning. That was the biggest number of people who have been detained by police since the protests started on Tuesday evening. And so we have had now 4 consecutive nights of looting, of arson attacks on banks and shops and schools, of cars and buses and trams being set on fire, of people ransacking shops, and now thousands of people being arrested in total over the past 4 days. The police are going to be trying to step up their response, more law enforcement personnel on the streets to try to quell these protests. But at the moment, they show no signs of stopping. But there will be a watch from the authorities to see if the impact of now the fact that Nahel M has been laid to rest this afternoon, if that does have any kind of de-escalatory impacts on the protests. Hilary?
Okay, Ross, thank you. We appreciate the update. Ross Cullen for us there reporting in Paris.